The stars were quiet, peaceful, cold. But behind that silence, something dark moved. For thousands of years, the Zorvan Empire had ruled the galaxy. They were not kind rulers. They were conquerors. Every time the Zorvans found a new species, they sent warships, planets burned, cities fell. And always, the result was the same. The other species surrendered. Some surrendered after one battle, some after a week. The bravest lasted a month. But in the end, they all knelt before the Zorvans. Zorvans believed this was the way of the universe. Fear was the greatest weapon. If you showed power, others would kneel. If they didn't kneel, you crushed them until they did. And so the galaxy grew quiet, until the Zorvans found Earth, the signal high in orbit around a dead planet. Admiral Kor, leader of the Zorvan 7th Fleet, sat on the bridge of his ship. His skin was gray and rough like stone. His eyes glowed a faint blue. He was old, even for a Zorvan, but still sharp. "Admiral," said a young officer, "we have found something. A planet with strange signals. Active cities. No known registration in the Galactic Index." Kor narrowed his eyes. "Show me." Screen lit up. A spinning blue world appeared. White clouds. "Green lands, vast oceans. Earth," the officer said. "That's what the locals call it. Species, Homo sapiens. They call themselves humans." Kor leaned back in his seat. "Have they developed space travel?" "Yes, but only to their moon. Basic level. Primitive technology." Kor smiled. "Another easy victory. Prepare a scouting ship." First contact 2 weeks later. A small Zorvan scout ship landed in a forest on Earth, far from human cities. The team wore advanced armor and carried weapons strong enough to cut through steel. Their mission was simple: observe the species. Study their culture. Learn their weaknesses. But they weren't ready for what they found. The humans were strange. They laughed even when tired. They helped each other without being ordered. They had something called music, which served no purpose, but seemed to give them strength. And most strange of all, when a group of humans spotted the Zorvans, they didn't run. One Zorvan soldier aimed his weapon at a young human male. The human stepped in front of his family and shouted, "Come closer, I dare you." He had no armor, no weapons, just fists. But his eyes were full of fire. The Zorvan soldier hesitated, thought this had never happened before. "They do not fear us, Admiral." Kor reviewed the footage. He stared at the human male's face again and again. "He's unarmed," said one commander. "He's protecting his family. A foolish, emotional act." "No," Kor whispered. "It's more than that. He's not afraid." He turned to the officers. "Begin the invasion. Let's see how long these humans last." The first battle, the Zorvans chose a small coastal city for the first strike. 5 warships floated above it. Energy cannons fired. Buildings collapsed. Humans screamed, but then something happened. The humans fought back. They used tanks and jets, even though they were far weaker than Zorvan ships. Some charged on foot, some used explosives tied to cars. Civilians helped soldiers. A group of human firefighters ran into a burning building to save children, even while alien drones flew overhead. Kor watched the battle live from orbit. "They're not fighting to win," he said quietly. "They're fighting because they refuse to give up." The prisoner, the Zorvans captured a human soldier. He was badly injured. Blood ran from his side. Yet he grinned as they brought him into the prison cell. "You think we'll surrender?" The human said, "We're just getting started." The Zorvans tortured him for information. They showed him videos of cities falling, but he never begged. He only said one thing again and again: "You don't understand us. You think fear wins. Wars, it doesn't, not with us." After 3 days, the guards refused to go near him. "He stares at us like we're prey." One said. "He smiles while bleeding," said another. "It's wrong." The council laughs back on the Zorvan homeworld. The High Council laughed when they heard about Earth. Another primitive race, one counselor said. Let Kor burn their world. They are only animals, another said. They will break. Like the rest. But Kor was silent. He didn't laugh. He didn't smile. These humans are different, he said. They remind me of something we lost long ago. Don't speak nonsense, the council replied. End them. A history. Of pain. In the following weeks, the Zorvans learned more about humans. Their past was full of wars. But not just against others, against each other. Humans had fought world wars, famines, diseases, disasters, and every time they had rebuilt, they wrote stories about survival. Songs about pain. Their heroes were not just warriors, but survivors. Zorvans were bred for power. Humans were built for pain. A child and a gun in one small village. Zorvan soldiers found a young girl no older than 10. She stood alone, holding a rifle that was too big for her. They laughed, but the girl fired. She didn't hit anyone. The recoil knocked her back. But she got up again. Behind her, adults began to appear, weapons in hand, eyes hard. Zorvans retreated. Not because they were afraid of bullets, but because for the first time, they felt fear. The last war. Weeks turned into months. The Zorvans sent more troops, more weapons. They burned forests, bombed cities, poisoned rivers. And still, humans fought. Men became snipers. Teenagers planted traps. Mothers became medics. Children ran messages through fire and rubble. Kor stared out the window of his flagship, watching Earth below. This was supposed to be our last war, he said softly, and it still might be, but not for us. Ending scene, the human. Signal. On the 90th day of invasion, a human signal was broadcast across space. The message was simple. The human leader's face appeared, tired but strong. You came here thinking we would bow, that we would beg, that we would break. You don't know us. We are not the strongest, we are not the smartest, but we are the ones who never stop. You can kill us, but you can't make us kneel. The message spread across the galaxy. The Zorvans had never heard such a voice. It was not loud. It was not angry. It was unbreakable. The Zorvan ship was silent. Inside a metal cell, cold and dark, a man sat with blood on his face. His name was Sergeant Joel Carter, a human soldier captured during a street battle in a ruined Earth city. His hands were tied behind his back. His shirt was torn. His lip was split, but he was smiling. You should be screaming. 3 Zorvan guards stood outside the cell. Their leader, Sub-Officer Drex, was confused. He should be screaming, Drex said. He's injured. He's lost. His people are dying. One of the guards checked the monitor. His heart rate is calm. Almost too calm. Drex entered the cell. Carter looked up. So, you finally decided to say hello. Drex leaned close. Do you know where you are? Carter nodded. Yeah, inside the belly of a monster that doesn't know it's choking, Drex hissed. You've lost. Your cities burn. Your people are running. Carter smirked. We don't run. We regroup. The pain begins of an interrogators were experts in fear. They had devices that could read pain levels, stimulate memory trauma, and destroy mental defenses. They started simple. A metal spike entered Carter's leg slowly. Carter bit his lip but said nothing. Next, they showed him footage of destroyed human towns, screams, fire, broken buildings. Still, Carter stayed quiet. You're trying to break me, he said. But pain is something we live with. We don't break easy. The memory machine. The Zorvans brought in a machine called the Mind Echo. It forced a prisoner to relive their worst memory over and over. Drex activated the device. Carter's eyes widened. His breathing grew heavy. He saw a battlefield. His best friends screaming for help. Blood everywhere. The heat of a burning truck. The sound of dying soldiers. The smell of smoke. But after 5 minutes, Carter began to whisper something. Drex leaned closer. Carter was repeating the words. Still here. Still here. Why doesn't it work? Drex slammed his fist on the control panel. Why isn't he begging? Crying? They all cry. The Zorvan tech checked the data. He's resisting it. Mentally recentering. Focusing on his purpose. Drex stared into the cell. You're not a soldier, he said to Carter. You're a monster. Carter shook his head. No, you just never met real resistance. Back on Earth while Carter suffered in the cell, the war on Earth was changing. Human forces had started using new tactics, ambushes, sabotage, psychological warfare. They weren't trying to win in numbers. They were trying to make the Zorvans feel hunted. A Zorvan outpost in a jungle vanished overnight. Only smoke remained. A squad in a desert region found all their water replaced with sand someone had snuck into their base. Every day, the Zorvans lost more than just soldiers. They were losing control. He's not alone. Carter was dragged into a new room. This one had no machines. Just Drex and one screen. Drex pressed a button. On the screen, images of human resistance flashed. People fighting in snow, jungles, cities. Children handing ammo to soldiers. Elderly doctors treating fighters in caves. Drex growled. You're all insane. Carter stood up straight, even while chained. No, he said. We just refuse to kneel. You think you're special? Drex hissed. No, Carter replied. I'm not special. We all are. That's what scares you. The guards began to talk 2 days later. Zorvan guards at the prison began to whisper. One said, the human has lasted longer than any prisoner we've had. Another added, he sings at night. In pain, but he sings. Even the doctors noticed. Something strange. Carter's wounds healed slower, but he never passed out from the pain. He stayed conscious, aware, focused. It's like he uses the pain to stay alive. The doctor said that the message from Earth, then something strange happened. A message was broadcast on Zorvan channels, a pirate transmission. It came from Earth. Woman's voice calm, strong, to the one you captured. If you hear this, hold on, we're coming. They don't understand us. But they will. They think you're alone, but we're millions. We're all unbreakable. Just like you. In his cell, Carter smiled for the first time in days. A silent Drex returned to the cell the next day. But this time, he didn't yell. He stood still. Quiet. Carter looked up. What's wrong? No more speeches? Drex clenched his fists. We've lost 3 bases. Guerrilla strikes. Human hackers are taking control of our satellites. Carter nodded. Told you. What kind of species are you? Drex asked. Carter leaned forward. The kind you should have left alone. Ending scene. A fire in the dark. The lights in the Zorvan ship flickered. Alarms began to sound. An explosion shook the walls. Carter grinned. That's my ride. In the distance, a small human strike team boarded the ship. The rescuers didn't come in with heavy armor. They came fast, quiet, and deadly. Like ghosts in the dark. As the door of the cell opened, Carter stepped out. One of the soldiers tossed him a weapon. You ready to go home? They asked. Carter looked back down the hallway where he had suffered for days. Let's give them something to fear. The jungle was too quiet. Thick vines curled around shattered trees. Smoke rose from the broken ground. A Zorvan scout unit had entered this region 3 hours ago. Now only silence. Commander Tavrax, leading a team of elite hunters, stood beside a fallen drone. Its metal shell was crushed inward. Something had attacked it without leaving any trace of energy. This doesn't make sense, Tavrax muttered. There should be signs of battle. A younger soldier stepped forward. Commander, I think we're being watched. Tavrax's eyes narrowed. He didn't know it yet, but this jungle would become the first place where Zorvans learned fear. We lost contact. Back aboard the orbiting Zorvan cruiser Bloodwake, Admiral Kor was in the command room when the signal cut off. The last thing they saw was static, and then a human whisper on the open frequency. "They're not coming back." Everyone on the bridge turned toward the sound. That whisper didn't come from any soldier. It was a message left behind, on purpose. Kor stared at the screen. That was a warning. An officer asked, "Sir, should we send another team?" "No." Kor said quietly, "Not yet. Something's changed." What the survivors said, 3 days later, only 2 Zorvans from the jungle unit returned. They were shaking. One had a deep cut across his chest. The other had blood on his hands, not his own. "We didn't see them," the injured one said. "We heard whispers, then screams, traps everywhere. Explosives hidden in trees. Fire in the dark." The medics injected him with calming agents, but he still trembled. The other survivor leaned close and whispered to the doctors, "They weren't running from us. They were hunting us." Kor's dilemma. Admiral Kor walked alone through the observation deck of his ship. Earth's clouds swirled below him. Every species the Zorvans had fought before reacted the same way. Fear, surrender, survival. But these humans, they had no fear. Or maybe worse, they had fear, but refused to let it control them. "Sir," a message came through. "Speak," Kor said. "Our outpost in Zone 4 was hit. No survivors. Explosives planted inside food crates. Any signs of their attackers?" "No." "But they left a message." "What message?" The officer hesitated. Then read, "You started a war. We'll finish it. Zorvan Elite versus human ghosts in another zone." A Zorvan Elite unit was deployed with heat scanners and anti-camouflage gear. They had one job: root out human fighters. They moved through a destroyed city at night. Carefully, nothing moved. Then came a sound music. A slow human song played from a small speaker, placed in the middle of a ruined street. As the Zorvans approached, the buildings around them exploded shaped charges, placed with surgical precision. The survivors barely escaped. One soldier screamed as he ran, "They use sound as traps. They're toying with us." The psychology of terror. The Zorvan military mind was built on control and dominance. But now, they were reacting, responding, defending. Human tactics weren't based on strength alone. They were based on something more terrifying: understanding fear and using it. Zorvan command centers started getting strange messages. Screens flickered with images of human eyes. Symbols scratched into Zorvan walls, still standing. Drones hacked to fly back to base, playing human war chants. Zorvans began to lose sleep. The general's death in Zone 7, General Votal, one of the most experienced Zorvan warriors, was ambushed in his mobile command crawler. The crawler was protected by force shields, triple thick armor, and 2 escort tanks, but the humans had watched, learned. They used tunnels, climbed under, placed charges beneath the tracks. When the crawler exploded, a human recording played over local comms. "We don't break, we adapt." Kor heard the news in silence. He finally said, "Begin full retreat from Zone 7. We can't afford more shame." "They enjoy it." In a dark war room, Kor met with his senior advisors. "They don't just fight," said the intelligence officer. "They enjoy it." Another added, "They're creative under pressure. They turn disasters into opportunities." Kor nodded slowly. "I've studied all species we've conquered. This one doesn't fit the pattern." He pulled up a screen showing Earth's violent history: wars, civil struggles, survival stories. They were born in chaos, raised in conflict. They don't want peace, they want meaning. And for them, Kor said coldly, "War is meaning." The human prisoner's words returned back on the Zorvan ship. Sub-Officer Drek sat alone, staring at a screen. He replayed the human prisoner Carter's words. "We don't break easy. You've never met real resistance. We're the kind you should have left alone." He used to laugh at those words. Now, they echoed in his mind. Ending scene. A new Fire final report arrived at the Zorvan war room. A full base had vanished. No battle. No explosions, just gone. When scouts arrived, they found a human symbol scorched into the stone, a simple handprint, and beneath it, a message in human language. This is only the beginning. Admiral Kor looked at his war map. Red dots blinked. Zorvan losses. He whispered, "We thought they would break." Then he turned to his officers, eyes cold. "But they're breaking us." The sky was dark with smoke. Flames rose from the ruins of 3 human cities. Zorvan warships fired relentless energy beams, turning buildings into ash. The ground shook as explosions echoed through the valleys. The Zorvans expected surrender. They had burned worlds before. Species had begged for mercy in hours. But not here. The burning city's Admiral Kor stood on the bridge of his flagship Bloodwake, watching the devastation below. "Send the surrender demand," he ordered. "Let them kneel before the fire." A message blasted from orbit. "Humans of Earth, you face annihilation. Surrender now or perish." Silence answered. The human answer, below the smoke, in a hidden bunker beneath the shattered city of New Alexandria. Human leaders gathered. General Maya Ramirez stood before a battered crowd of soldiers and civilians. "Listen to this," she said, replaying the alien message. Her voice was steady, strong. "We are not afraid." A young soldier asked, "But the cities, they're gone." Maya shook her head. "Cities can burn. Our will cannot." She turned to the crowd. "We will fight with everything we have. We will protect every child, every life. This is our home. They will not take it." Farmers become fighters. In villages near the ruins, farmers took up rifles. Blacksmiths forged makeshift weapons. A mother handed her son a pistol. "Learn to fight, Danny. We're all soldiers now." Danny nodded, eyes wide but determined. Children. In the war in the rubble, children helped carry supplies and water to soldiers. Some ran messages through dangerous streets. Others comforted wounded friends. Despite the destruction, hope burned brighter than the fires. Human broadcast from underground radio stations. A message reached every corner of Earth. "You may burn our cities, but you will never burn our spirit. We fight for tomorrow, for life, for humanity." Zorvan shock back in orbit. Kor paced. "Why don't they surrender?" An advisor replied, "They've never surrendered before. They fight for something greater." Kor frowned. "They are more dangerous than we thought." Civilians' courage in one burnt city. An old man stood on a rooftop, waving a white flag. But below, young fighters gathered, ready to defend. He smiled. "They don't need to surrender. They don't know how." The human leaders promised. General Maya broadcast another message to the Zorvans. "We stand broken but unbowed. Every flame you light only fuels our fight. We are not your prey. We are your nightmare." Zorvan Council panic on their homeworld. The High Council debated fiercely. How can a species fight so hard after losing so much? One member demanded, "We underestimated them." Kor admitted. "Send reinforcements," ordered the Council. "We crush them or be crushed." The fight is far from over on Earth. The war raged. The ground was scorched. Lives were lost, but humans stood. Their will was stronger than fire. Ending scene. The flame that never dies under the burning sky. A small group of humans gathered around a campfire. Maya sat among them. She looked at the flames and whispered, "They may burn the cities, but they will never burn our will." The fire crackled, steady and bright. The Zorvan fleet hovered silently above Earth. Their weapons had scorched the land. 3 human cities were gone. They believed the war was over. They were wrong. The quiet before the storm. Admiral Kor stood at the command deck, watching Earth spin below. He turned to his crew. "The humans are broken. All we must do now is crush the pieces." Just then alarms blared. Unknown signals approaching from multiple sectors. A tech officer shouted, "Ships?" Kor asked, Yes, sir, human ships. Everyone on the bridge froze. Primitive. Core asked. Primitive, but fast. Human ships attack across low orbit. Dozens of human strike vessels, small, outdated, barely armed, raced straight toward the Zorvan fleet. Zorvans laughed. This is desperation. But then, the human ships split into dozens of erratic patterns, dodging beams, spinning, crashing into targets. They weren't just attacking. They were suicidal weapons. Some exploded inside Zorvan hangars. Others carried hacked Zorvan tech repurposed drones, now aimed at their former masters. Clever tactics. Terrifying results. One human pilot flew his craft into a Zorvan warships. Shield at full speed, only to teleport out seconds. Before detonation. Another squadron dropped metal chaff clouds that confused Zorvan tracking systems. The Zorvan AI systems glitched. Turrets turned on their own fighters. Inside Core's ship, the chaos was unreal. These aren't just soldiers, he muttered. They're engineers of war. The ground awakens while the orbital fight raged. Human ground teams struck from hidden bunkers. Saboteurs emerged from tunnels and ruined cities. They launched missiles made from scrap and stolen alien fuel. One human squad hacked a Zorvan supply depot and reprogrammed its entire drone army to guard human medics. In the desert war zone of Sector 13, a single human platoon defeated a Zorvan tank division using mines disguised as trash. Arvan panic grows in their command halls. Zorvan officers screamed at one another. They're everywhere. They shouldn't be capable of this. They shouldn't even be alive. Core slammed his fist on the control desk. We underestimated them. Again. Human resilience shocks the galaxy. News of Earth's counterattack spread across alien networks. Other species enslaved, silenced, watched in secret. They saw something they had never seen before. Zorvan defeat. A silent question echoed across the stars. If humans can fight them, why can't we? Inside a burning warship Zorvan cruiser, Spinnacutter was breached. Human soldiers in scavenged armor stormed the halls. Their leader, Captain Lyra, held a stolen alien plasma rifle. Take the engine core, she shouted. They planted charges and escaped in drop pods seconds before it exploded. No retreat. Back on the ground, General Maya received the reports. Captain Lyra succeeded. We took out a cruiser. Her aide asked, should we pull back and rest? Maya shook her head. No, this is the moment. While they panic, we push. They took our sky. Now we take their pride. Zorvan's retreat for the first time in Zorvan. Military history. A war order was given. Withdraw from lower orbit. Zorvan ships began to rise. They left behind smoke. Bodies in something worse. Defeat. KORR single quotes S realization. Admiral Core stood in silence, watching his ships flee. He whispered, we built ourselves on fear, but they're built on fire. Ending. Scene. The human spirit on a ruined mountain base. Humans gathered around a radio as the stars cleared overhead. The voice of General Maya came through. To every fighter, every survivor, look up. They're leaving, and we're still here. This is more than war now. This is the day we stopped running. In the sky, distant Zorvan ships became nothing more than fading lights. But on Earth, humanity burned brighter than ever. The Zorvans had one final weapon. They had used it only 5 times in history. Every time, it broke the enemy's will completely. Every time, it ended a war. Now, they would use it on a human. The weapon of the Minden, a deep Zorvan facility, hidden behind moons and radiation clouds. Sat a device called the Mind Shredder. It didn't cut flesh. It cut memories. It dragged the worst moments from a prisoner's past and played them again and again, louder, sharper, more real than life. The Zorvans believed no being could survive it. So they brought in a human prisoner. Her name was Kara Rios. The prisoner Kara was captured during a raid on a Zorvan relay tower. She was injured, bruised but silent, Zorvan Commander Salak looked down at her. "You will answer us, or you will break." Kara stared back. "I've already broken. What's left scares you." The first session they strapped her into the mind shredder. Metallic arms wrapped around her skull. Electroneural needles slid into place. A soft female Zorvan voice began to speak. "Memory 01, replaying trauma. Begin." Flashes of fire, her childhood home burning, screams of her father. Her brother trapped. Kara twitched. Sweat dripped down. Her temple, Memory 02, field combat, unit ambushed. All friends lost. Her breathing grew rapid. Zorvans watched, waiting for the moment she would scream, but instead, Kara laughed. "You think this hurts me?" Her laugh was dry. Hoarse, but real. Commander Salak stepped forward. "Why are you laughing?" Kara's voice was calm, broken but proud. "Because pain made me. Because you think this hurts me more than living through it did. You don't understand, do you? We're not afraid of memories. We carry them." A dangerous realization. The Zorvan techs paused the device. "We don't understand," one said. "Her brainwaves are stabilizing." "She's adapting. She's not resisting," said another. "She's using it." Salak looked stunned. No one survives 3 cycles of the mind shredder. Inside her Minden, the neural feedback loop, Kara saw her dead comrades, their faces, their final words, and she whispered, "I'm still here, for you." Every pain they tried to give her, she turned into fuel. Every memory they replayed, she took back with pride that she was remembering, not suffering. Zorvans began to break. Zorvan scientists watched in silence. "Commander." Salak gripped the edge of the control panel. "We built this device to break the unbreakable. But she's showing us we were never strong to begin with." Kara's message after 11 hours. Kara's body was limp, but her mind was awake. The Zorvans opened her chamber. She looked at Salak and whispered, "Tell your admiral. The real pain is coming." Then she collapsed, still smiling. The broadcast somehow. Kara's neural implant recorded the entire session, her brainwaves, her words. Her courage data was broadcast across Earth, hacked through the Zorvan satellites. Human soldiers, civilians, refugees, everyone watched as Kara endured the unendurable. They saw what the aliens feared most, a human who could not be broken. Back on Earth, the reaction General Maya Ramirez watched the footage. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She didn't scream. One soldier whispered. "No," Maya replied. "She reminded us who we are." From bunkers to mountain bases, humans stood a little taller. Every fighter, every medic, every child knew, if she can face that, we can face anything. The Zorvans panic on the Zorvan homeworld. The High Council was speechless. What species survives the mind shredder? "She didn't survive," said one terrified advisor. "She won." Ending scene. Kara's return 6 days later. Kara Rios was rescued by a stealth strike team. Her body was weak, but her spirit? Unshakable. As the rescue ship flew back toward Earth, Kara looked out the window, scars across her face. "You wanted to break us," she whispered, "but you only made us stronger." The sky above Earth changed. Where once there were Zorvan warships glowing cold and blue, now there were gaps in the sky. Ships falling, burning, retreating. Something had shifted, and every human could feel it. Message across stars in the heart of Zorvan Command. Admiral Kor stood before a war map blinking red. Earth was no longer a mission. It was a disaster. And then a signal appeared. Unauthorized, human-made. The screen turned on. A face appeared. Captain Lyra, the woman who led the raid on the Zorvan cruiser in Part 5. She stared straight into the camera, calm and deadly. "You thought you could burn us down, but you forgot what rises from ashes. Now we come for you." Then the screen cut to black. Zorvan officers stood in stunned silence. The first real loss, the Zorvan dreadnought Voidcaller, the pride of their fleet, Fell in orbit, that it didn't fall in battle, that it fell to hacked systems and human boarding. Parties. The humans didn't destroy it. They took it, painted human colors on its hull, renamed it Iron Soul. Human morale soars. General Maya watched the void caller footage with a small smile. Tell the troops, she said. We just took their best ship. Crowds of civilians and fighters roared across bunkers and ruined cities. This is our turning point, Maya said. From defense to victory. Resistance unites across Earth. Scattered groups of survivors began to merge. The mountain fighters, the city snipers, the forest scouts, the underground engineers, they came together. One resistance. One voice. One war. The awakening across the stars, elsewhere in the galaxy. Enslaved species who had once bowed to Zorvan power watched Earth's rebellion. On the icy moon of Tarnak, a small species called the Vorli whispered, "The humans fight." Gods. On the gas colonies of Delsar, the insectoid Kavak began forging hidden weapons. Even in Zorvan-ruled space, quiet rebellions began, because if humans could do it, maybe they all could. Zorvan troops lose faith in a field outpost. A Zorvan squad found a message written in human paint. You are not the hunters anymore. They looked around in fear. One soldier whispered, "They're everywhere." The commander replied, "They don't fight like us." Another muttered, "They fight like they've already lost everything and have nothing left to fear." Kor's choice back in orbit. Admiral Kor stood before a council hologram. The war is slipping. A counselor growled, "Then burn more. Kill faster." "No," Kor said. "Every city we burn makes them stronger. They are infected with defiance." The council scoffed. Kor stared at the earth below and said nothing. Inside, something was changing in him. The night of fire and unity, that night, in every human-held zone, fires were lit not from destruction, but from celebration. A signal went out to all units. We are one now. Old songs were sung in broken voices. Kids danced in the ruins, and the stars above, once filled with Zorvan ships, now looked peaceful. But no one forgot the war. They just knew. Now it was their turn to strike. Ending scene. The general's promise at sunrise. General Maya stood before her people. She raised a flag made from torn uniforms and bandages. She said one line, "We fight until the stars remember our name." The crowd shouted as one, "Humanity stands!" And far above them, the Iron Soul, once Zorvan, now human, moved into position. The Zorvan Empire had ruled for centuries. They burned planets, crushed rebellions, controlled the stars. But now they feared one thing, a human victory, and worse, a human memory. Final Zorvan stand high above Earth. The last Zorvan fleet regrouped. Dozens of warships, full firepower, desperate leadership. Admiral Kor stared at Earth from his ship Vengeance Crown. They will not survive this, he muttered. Behind him, council orders echoed, burn them to the core. No mercy, no honor, just end it. But Kor hesitated. Something in him cracked. The human response inside the stolen Zorvan dreadnought Iron Soul. Captain Lyra stood at the command panel. Beside her was Kara Rios, still recovering from the mind. Shredder. General Maya's voice came through the comms. "This is our last stand or their last mistake." Lyra replied, "Let's make history." The battle begins. The sky above Earth exploded with light. Human fighters moved like chaos itself, darting, diving, disabling enemy engines instead of destroying ships. Inside Earth's gravity well, mines made from crashed alien drones detonated with terrifying precision. Zorvan ships fell one by one, not from power, but from human cleverness. Kor watched it unfold. "They don't just fight," he said. "They outthink." Kor's decision on his screen, thousands of Zorvan lives blinked out. He could order more destruction, more death. Instead, he closed his fist. "Order all ships to stand down," he said. "Sir?" His second-in-command asked. Kor stared at Earth. I'd rather face the shame of peace than the destruction of pride. He sent one final message to Earth. The message, it was short. Only one sentence. We understand now. The war ends here. The war is over across Earth. Human radios crackled. One soldier in a bunker whispered, "Say it again." The voice repeated. The Zorvans, they surrendered. Civilians cried. Fighters dropped their weapons. Medics fell to their knees. A little girl stood on a hill and looked at the sky. We made them stop, she said. Aftermath. Zorvan ships returned home. Silent. The Empire shrank. Other species, once silent, rose up. In Earth, though scarred and burned, stood proud. The legacy in a rebuilt city plaza, a statue of Kara Rios. Captain Lyra and General Maya stood tall. Below it, a plaque read, "We don't fight to win. We fight so the war never returns." Final scene. The last words. A classroom. On Earth. Children listen as a teacher finishes the story of the Zorvan War. She says, "And that's why we remember. Not how many we lost, but how hard we refused to break." One student raises a hand. Did we win? The teacher smiles. No, we did more than win. We ended it.